going on, guys? Welcome back to Sports Freaks Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Cummings. And unfortunately today, Dominic and Marcos are unable to join us in this episode. I think it's episode 14. So it will be me running the show. So we have a lot to talk about in this video with the Chicago Blackhawks. But before we get into that, I want to remind everybody who's watching this video that we are at 65 subscribers, trying to get to 100. So if you guys can, right now or after the video, please go smash that subscribe button. But let's get into it. So the Blackhawks made a lot of moves this offseason so far. They made a trade, obviously the recent draft, and a couple days ago they made 7 signings. Seven signings that were Tyler Bertuzzi, Teuvo Teravainen, Alec Martinez, Laurent Brossoit, Patrick Maroon, TJ Brody, and Craig Smith. We're going to break those guys down later into the video, but I want to first start with the Blackhawks' first move of this offseason, or at least the big one. No, not the big one. So the first big news that came out over the offseason was the Blackhawks trade with the Vancouver Canucks. The Blackhawks acquired Sam Lafferty, Ilya Mikheyev, which are both forwards, and a 2027 second-round pick. The Canucks receive just a 2027 fourth-round pick. So I will call this, in my opinion, a win for the Chicago Blackhawks. However, forward Sam Lafferty, who was a former Blackhawk, did not agree to terms with Kyle Davidson and will be heading over to the Buffalo Sabres. Ilya Mikheyev, we're going to talk a little bit about him. Here's our stats from last year. 11 goals, 20 assists, and 31 points. And this is a guy I feel like that a lot of people have looked down on in the past throughout his career. Obviously last year he played with Vancouver. I don't think that this is going to be a guy that's going to be a major piece for the Blackhawks. He is still 29 years old. I could be wrong on that, but he's still, I won't say a young guy, but he's getting up there in terms of veteran age. But maybe does help out Bedard for his future. With Sam Lafferty, it's very unfortunate. I was very excited when he came over. Now Sam Lafferty's not like a he's not like an oh wow player. Like this is a crucial trade. But when he was with the Blackhawks, he was a very well liked here in Chicago. The fans loved him. I certainly appreciated him, but we just couldn't come to terms with him. I will ask though for Kyle Davidson, why would you trade for him if you couldn't agree to terms with him? And on top of that, obviously they get a 2027 second round pick, and that to me I feel like is like the win here. You only gave up a fourth round pick for a second round pick, and I think the Blackhawks win this trade. Once again, I don't think Ilya Mikheyev is going to be a key part in this Blackhawks future, but the pick helps. Now we head into the draft that happened about a week ago. The Blackhawks had 3 first-round picks, 3 third-round picks, 1 fifth-rounder, and a 6th-rounder. I'll repeat that again. The Blackhawks had 3 first-rounders, 3 third-rounders, a 5th, and a 6th. Now, we're not going to break down every player in this draft order, but we will be talking about who we drafted with the 2nd overall pick in Artem Levshunov. But first, I will say who we drafted. In the first round, we selected at number 2, Artem Levshunov. 2nd round, Sasha Boiver at center. In the first round, Artem Levshunov, second overall pick. First round, number 18th pick, Sasha Boiver. First round, 27th pick, Marquette Vanker, left wing. Now we head into the third round. Third round, number 67 overall, John Mustard, who it says here he can play center and a wing. Then you have a third round pick, number 72, AJ Spalesi, right wing. I could be spelling this wrong. Third round, number 92. These are number orders. Number 92 pick, Jack Predaham, right wing. Fifth rounder, number 138, or pick number 138, Joel Stevenson, center. 6th round pick, number 163, T.Y. Henry, who is defenseman. Now we're going to get into who the Blackhawks drafted with the 2nd overall pick in the 1st round, Artem Levshunov. I think a lot of people, specifically Blackhawks fans, I'll even say NHL fans, are very surprised by this pick. Mainly because for a long time you were thinking that the Blackhawks were going to draft Ivan Demidov with that pick. Instead, they take defense and Artem Levshunov. And I gotta tell you, Blackhawks fan, I really like this guy. You know, I heard a lot of stuff that he could be the best defensive prospect in this draft. It was surprising though that Demidov went to the number 5th overall pick, where he went to the Montreal Canadiens. Anaheim didn't take him. I forgot who was 4th. It might have been the Columbus, but besides the point. Artem Levshunov last year, are we like what his height and weight? Levshunov is 6'2", 208 pounds, shoots right defenseman. Last year's stats: 34 games played, 9 goals, 23 assists, and 32 points. That to me is defensive numbers. Defensemen are not going to score a lot of goals. We know that. Personally, what I look at and what a lot of NHL fans should look at is their plus minus and their assists. Now, I'll even say the points. And from what I've heard, this is a very mobile defenseman. This is a guy that's going to attack on the rush. And then so I watched the video from NHL Draft Pros. Go check him out. Just type Artem Levshunov, and this is what he thinks Levshunov's strengths and weaknesses are. At the strengths, he has skating, defensive play, and he can compete, and he's very physical. And to me, defensive play is huge, and you know, like obviously you play at the defensive position, but what I also like is that he's very physical. You know, being physical as a defender is going to spark your offense a lot. If you hit somebody in the corner, that is really going to get your team riling up, and it also shows a little bit of pride in your defense. Skating, another big thing for him is that a lot of good defensemen are really good at skating, which the Blackhawks do not have. They don't really have many other than maybe Seth Jones, mobile defensemen. And obviously they still have a young guy in Kevin Korchinski, a young guy in Alex Vlasic, who are hopefully going to contribute to this future. But I do think this is the right pickup by Kyle Davidson. Now we're gonna see what he needs to work on: decision making, shooting, and puck control. Now, this decision making, I did see a couple clips. Your head has to be on a swivel if you're a defenseman, both on the offensive side of the puck or offensive side of the ice, and the defensive side of the ice. You cannot turn the puck over at center ice. That's like one of the things that coaches tell you, is that you cannot turn the puck when you can't throw it to the center. And so that's something that he's going to have to work on. Shooting, again, I'm not going to say I'm too worried about this, mainly because, again, defensemen aren't typically, great goal scorers. Obviously, there are guys like Cale Makar, Roman Yoshi, Victor Hedman, Miro Heiskanen. Those guys are one of the best. Are the best defensemen in the league. Puck control is a huge thing. It's a little bit like decision making, but you have to avoid those turnovers. You have to avoid those like little forwards that, especially because Levshunov is he's 6'2", so he's not a tall guy, but guys below him, they're gonna pick the puck if he's not careful, even if guys above him. Now here's why I like this pick from the Chicago Blackhawks. Last year, the Blackhawks had a plus minus of negative 111. That is second to last in the entire league. The San Jose Sharks were worse. They had negative 150. So, again, I understand why Kyle Davidson did this. Again, you're getting a guy, Artem Levshunov, again, a very mobile defenseman. And from what I've heard, he is not going to be playing. He's not going to start this year. He's going to go down to the minors. I think he's either going to finish up with Michigan State or he's going to go right to the Rockford IceHawks. Now, what I will say this is with him, I would probably. I'll play a couple games. I'll probably give him like 10 games in the pros. I would give him half, if not 80% of the year or 90% of the year to get his legs moving. Get used to the Blackhawks foundation and see where we go from there. Now we get into the big news. The Blackhawks free agency signings. Again, they signed 7 free agency, including re-signing Joey Anderson. But we're gonna talk about Tyler Bertuzzi, which is their first signing. Tyler Bertuzzi, 4 years, $22 million. This is a perfect pickup from the Chicago Blackhawks. I have been wanting this guy to come to our team, mainly because he is really, really good on the power play. I really think that Tyler Bertuzzi he's also going to get a lot of playing time, because as you can see, that the teams he's played on, other than the Detroit Red Wings, he played on guys. He played on teams like Toronto. He's played on teams like Boston, where it's like Boston and Toronto both have really good offenses. You look at Toronto: Austin Matthews, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, John Tavares. On Boston's side, you have Brad Marchand and David Pastrnak, and you also have a guy in Charlie McAvoy that can score the puck as well. So I think this is a guy in Tyler Bertuzzi. He did have 30 goal. He had one 30-goal season with the Detroit Red Wings, but once again, like I said, the Detroit Red Wings at the time were a really, really bad team. So he obviously got a lot of playing time. Now here's last year's stats: 80 games played, 21 goals, 22 assists, and 43 points. Again, this is a guy. I felt the Hawks a lot of last year, and we discussed this on, I believe, our last podcast with the Blackhawks. It was like the draft predictions. They have way too many fourth liners, like guys like Jason Dickinson and Nick Foligno and Kyle Blackwell. I think those guys just don't make a championship team. Maybe Foligno does, but I don't think they make. I think maybe they make a playoff roster, but they don't make a championship team. Tyler Bertuzzi can, and I believe Tyler Bertuzzi is going to be. If I'm Luke Richardson, I probably put him on that line with Bedard. And he may. I'm not going to say this is a Connor McDavid, Zach Hyman thing, but it could be. Maybe he gets 30 goals like he did with the one season with the Red Wings. But yeah, I think 4 years for $22 million is a perfect deal. Well done, Kyle Davidson. Now I move on to the former Blackhawk, Teuvo Teravainen, who won a cup with us in 2015, about 9 years ago. And I gotta tell you, another perfect signing by Kyle Davidson here. You see, Teuvo Teravainen, he'll have 3 years and $16 million. Again, perfect deal. So this is last year's stats for Teuvo Teravainen: 76 games played, 25 goals, 28 assists, and 53 points. This is a guy that can make the first line. I would put him on the second line with guys like Lucas Reichel, and some other young guys, maybe like Frankie Nazar. But I love this pickup from Kyle Davidson. Teravainen, obviously, he helped us win a cup in 2015. He was a huge contributor to Carolina's success. I know that they didn't win a cup, but he was a huge contributor last year, and he was a huge contributor in past years. This is a very consistent player. I think he's going to be really good for this Blackhawk squad. Moving on to Alec Martinez with a 1-year, $4 million deal. This is a guy, Alec Martinez, who plays defense. As we get into kind of like the defense now, as Bertuzzi and Teravainen were both wingers. Martinez, obviously, he played most of his career at the LA Kings. He won a championship with Vegas. He's a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, 2 with the Los Angeles Kings and 1 with the Vegas Golden Knights. And he's most likely going to retire soon. Who knows? He might retire tomorrow. You never know. But this is another good pickup for the Blackhawks. And again, a lot of these contracts, actually all these contracts, they're not really committed to anybody. They're just not huge. Like salary signing, like salary wise, they're not like, loading them up. But Alec Martinez plays defense. He's really going to help out if they do decide to bring up Artem Levshunov. But he is going to be a real key contributor to Kevin Korchinski's development, along with Alex Vlasic's development. If he can really help out Korchinski and guys, again, another young prospect in Ethan Del Mastro, this is going to be a very solid Blackhawks defense. Now we're going to talk about his stats. 55 games played, 4 goals, 13 assists, 17 points with a -2. And again, like I said before, defensemen, when you're looking at them, you're looking at assists, points, and plus minus. Plus minus is probably, if not, my biggest concern. Because, again, defensemen, you have to have your head on a swivel. You have to have an effective game on the offensive side, and you have to have a even better of a game on the defensive side. Now, we talk about Alec Martinez, 4 goals. Again, not crazy. Again, this is not a crazy signing. The two big ones here are Bertuzzi and Teravainen. 13 assists, 17 points. Again, this is a guy that is eventually going to come to the end of his career. Now we head on to Laurent Brossoit, if I'm saying that correctly, and this is probably a sign from the Chicago Blackhawks that they're no longer going to keep Artem Soderblom in that one. No longer going to keep Artem Soderblom in net. Artem Soderblom is not the worst winning percentage of all goaltenders last year. I know there's a point in the season where he was the worst goaltender in terms of winning percentage, but again, Laurent Brossoit, he's going to be with Peter Mrazek, and Peter Mrazek, he got a 2-year extension, and Brossoit got 2 years, $3.3 million. Perfect deal. He's most likely going to be backup. If not, maybe him and Mrazek are probably going to switch. But games played 23 games. He went 15-5-2. His goal against average was actually 2, like dead on 2. So that's really good. And then a save percentage of .927 with 3 shutouts. The 3 shutouts is tied for 11th in the league. And obviously he did play on a pretty. Actually, no, he played with the Winnipeg Jets last year. So, and again, he had the best defense in the league. You're coming to Chicago, who was not very good in the backhand. And obviously you had guys like Alec Martinez and hopefully Korchinski and Del Mastro and Vlasic grow. So, but yeah, another solid signing from the Blackhawks. I believe that he's going to get a lot of games played this year. Hopefully Peter Mrazek holds his ground, and we don't need Brossoit to come in. But Mrazek cannot. Brossoit will come in and hopefully get the job done. Now I move on to Patrick Maroon, who's been a fan favorite for a lot of teams he's played on. 1 year, $1.3 million. The Blackhawks contract is. And this is another guy who plays wing. This is a guy that will hit you any day of the week. He's a guy like Dave Bowen. If you Blackhawks fans, if you diehard Blackhawks fans, remember Dave Bowen, Brian Bickle. There's no other guys in the league. He's a Ryan Reeves. He's one of those guys. Like he is a scrapper. He's a guy that's going to defend his players. Again, another solid pickup from the Blackhawks, and again, just a 1-year deal. Last year, 49 games played, 4 goals, 12 assists, 16 points. And, again, Patrick Maroon, throughout his career, he's won 3 Stanley Cups. I think he's appeared in 4. Yeah, he's appeared in 4 Stanley Cup final appearances. This is a guy that's going to bring a lot of veteran leadership to this young Blackhawks team. Now I move on to TJ Brodie and another defenseman. So the Blackhawks signed 2 defensemen here, Alec Martinez and TJ Brodie. 2 years. So TJ Brodie's contract with the Blackhawks will be 2 years, $7 million. And a lot of people have been hating on TJ Brodie. I've been kind of one of those haters. I don't really think he's going to be much for this Blackhawks team. But surprisingly, he actually did not have that bad of a year in terms of, at least in his plus minus. 78 games played, 1 goal, 25 assists, and 26 points, with a plus minus of plus 17. Now, obviously, I don't like. I said before, defensemen don't really score that often. It's not something to look at, but 1 goal cannot be all you can score in a span of 78 games. You got to score more than one goal in order to be here in the NHL. But again, the plus 17, 25 assists do really help out a player heading into a team. Now I move on to the last signing with Craig Smith at center. Craig Smith is a center, 1 year, $1 million. Last year, Craig Smith played 75 games, had 11 goals, 9 assists, and 20 points. And another dude I'm not too high on, Craig Smith. He's bounced around the league. Again, he's probably another veteran that the Hawks are going to want to bring in. Another guy that's going to be in the fourth line, if not the third line, since this is a Hawks team that is very, very weak. But my overall reaction to this, off-season signings by Kyle Davidson is that you addressed the winger. You gave Bedard some help. Obviously, Teravainen and Bertuzzi are not like, oh my god, like this is going to change the franchise. No, but it is definitely going to improve Bedard's development by a lot. I mean, obviously he didn't really have much. I mean, last year the Hawks were very injury prone. Athanasiou was out for a little bit. Terrell Hall was out for the season. Nick Foligno got injured. Bedard got injured himself. I mean, this was a very beat up Hawks team. And, I think Bertuzzi and Teravainen, they're going to hopefully stay healthy and really help up Bedard's development. And another thing is that if you get Taylor Hall back and if Athanasiou stays healthy, again, this is going to be another solid, hard grinding, Blackhawks team. So those are the forwards. The defense now, Martinez and TJ Brody. These guys are kind of veterans. Alec Martinez, he's been in the Cup final. He's won 3 cups. This is probably at least one of my favorite signings, just because Alec Martinez, and obviously in the past, if you Blackhawks fans know, he did score a game-winning goal in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, sending the Kings to their second Stanley Cup in 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. Now we head over to Patrick Maroon and Craig Smith. Probably going to be on the fourth line, maybe the third line, but maybe Craig Smith have a house on the third line. But Maroon is most likely going to be on the fourth line for the Blackhawks, so he's most likely going to be with young Blackwell and Gottman and all those boys up there. Laurent Brossoit, this is another good sign I like from Kyle Davidson. I think he's going to be a very good backup. Again, if Mrazek holds his ground. All right, so now we head into the last three topics, as the Blackhawks will take on the Utah Hockey Club for their first game of the 2024-25 season. Now the Blackhawks will open up with 4 games on the road. And again, it's not like last year where the Hawks had to face like the best teams in the league. But Edmonton is in there. That's going to be a challenge. Obviously, the Edmonton Oilers went to the Stanley Cup final, lost to the Florida Panthers in Game 7, but they came back from 3-0 and made it interesting. Now, what's interesting, though, with the Utah Hockey Club is that they still have not created a name yet. They still haven't created a name for their team. Obviously, they used to be the Arizona Coyotes. Now that the Utah Hockey Club, as they move to Utah. Second topic, Blackhawks home opener will be against the San Jose Sharks, in which the San Jose Sharks last year were the worst team in the NHL. And this is honestly a perfect home opener, at least for the Blackhawks. And I know, again, it's last year both teams were the worst. Blackhawks were the second worst. The Sharks were the worst. But it's first round draft pick for the Sharks, Macklin Celebrini, versus first rounder Connor Bedard. Like, that's gonna be something to watch as a hockey fan. Yes, both teams do not have a lot of firepower. I'm going to say, I know the Sharks have made some moves, but I'll have to go with the Blackhawks there. I just feel like we don't know who Celebrini is. We have a pretty good picture of what Bedard is. And yeah, I think the Hawks are going to win their home opener. Now, I bet a lot of people are wondering, what is going to be the Blackhawks' toughest opponent in their division? Obviously, this is a very stacked division. You have the Dallas Stars. You have the Colorado Avalanche. You have the oh my goodness, Stars, Avalanche. I'm very sorry. Pirates made some moves. Winnipeg Jets is what I was thinking about. Winnipeg Jets, but my toughest opponent, if I'm the Blackhawks in my division, the Central, is going to be the Nashville Predators. The Predators had a huge offseason. They signed Steven Stamkos, who's a star. He is old, but he's a star still. Brady Shea, a very good defender. They have a very good goaltender in UC Soros. On top of the signings, they had They signed Jonathan Marchessault, which I really liked. I think the Blackhawks should have gotten him, at least in the free agency. But this is just a stacked Nashville Predators team. We got Stamkos, Marchessault, Shea, Philip Forsberg, Roman Josi, who was one of the best defenders last year. He's always been a very good defender. Ryan O'Reilly, and they have a good the Predators have a very good foundation. And like I mentioned before, they have UC Saros in net, who's not the biggest goaltender in terms of size, but he's still a very good goaltender, a very consistent goaltender if he can stay healthy. But yes, I do believe that the Nashville Predators will be the Blackhawks' toughest opponent yet in their division. Alright guys, that is it for episode, I believe, 14 of this podcast. We love doing it. Next episode will be about the Chicago Bulls. We have hopefully a couple special guests coming in. A couple of grade school friends, if they're available. We'll talk about Patrick Williams signing and then Jalen Smith signing and all the NBA free agency talks. We'll see you guys in the next one.